all, you can never really tell when Steve's actually trolling you because I feel like his trolling personality is the exact same as his normal personality. So you can never tell if he's being serious or not. So supposedly he was trolling me this morning after some of the games started. He had asked me before the game started if he should go Hamels or Shark. I told him Hamels, and if he should go either Joey Bats or Christian Yelich. And Hamels obviously didn't have an ideal performance, but before even Shark started pitching, he starts getting pitched. He's like, man, good call on that, Dan. Good call on that one. And then one Joey Bats at bat, and he also was getting a little angry at that as well. And it looks like I was on the right side of both of those. And we have yet to see his face since that happened.
I would say so, because Joey Bats homered and Shark has got like negative points on FanDuel. That's never good. Some big news though recently. Today there was the article in Forbes about the Major League Baseball basically saying doing away with the signage restrictions for daily fantasy sports. So you could theoretically have all sorts of signs at ballparks when you go. And then also yesterday was announced that FanDuel and the Orlando Magic have a working agreement where FanDuel is going to be helping them, like be a sponsor for the Magic, going to be helping them with some community events there in Orlando, and also going to be featured like on the court in the stadium, do some cool stuff with stadium, I guess, games inside the stadium. So I think we're kind of seeing stuff on the verge of taking off mainstream when you're talking about getting the professional teams and the people that go to these games involved.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of the hesitation before with different advertising partnerships or marketing partnerships was the whole legality issue. And so the fact that you see, these leagues who obviously have top-notch lawyers, top-notch legal team saying, go ahead, this is okay, there's a go-ahead on this. I think that's a really good sign as far as future legality concerns with DFS.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're talking about getting like a whole stadium involved, the biggest barrier to entry for me getting involved with daily fantasy, Ben, Natural Slugger, was the one who kind of introduced me. The biggest barrier to entry, because I saw it before then, was just like I was a skeptic. Like I was a big skeptic. Like, is this legit? Like I've been playing fantasy sports my whole life, and it was like Draft Street that I first saw, and I was like, "There's no way this is legit." And then Ben started writing for Daily Joust, and he's like, "You got to check this out." So I did. I checked out Daily Joust, and kind of the rest is history. Once I saw that it was actually a thing that you could win money on, and on Daily Joust get badges for. Those badges were awesome. I still have my Beat DP badge for when I took down a top 5 guy, and it was DP. So
good old DP.
Derek, did you hear about the question that DP asked at the FanDuel event?
No, I don't think I did.
There's a question and answer section, and DP, resident troll here at Fantasy Insiders and everywhere else, decides to ask a question, and Dan, I'll let you tell him what the question was.
Well, it was to Ricky Henderson, and he was clearly forcing his material, trying to work in some way to work in a joke with stolen bases, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even hear the question, but everybody was telling me afterwards that basically he raises his hand and then asks Ricky, when you walk into a 7-Eleven, does the clerk keep a close eye on you because he's scared you're going to steal everything? And supposedly, he claims ignorance to there being a racial undertone to the question. But clearly Ricky Henderson picked up on the whole racial undertone, and apparently it kind of gave him a look and a long pause before he answered.
Oh man, that's why sometimes you just have to scrap the materials and just let what you think might be the perfect moment for a laugh go. I've still learning that. All right, well, let's talk about some baseball tonight. I'll let you guys get to it. I did want to mention though that we have the Daily Fantasy Podcast, the Breakfast of Champions, the GPP, each morning when you wake up, and also we've got the college football and NFL packages available, and that's going to be starting next week. Crazy. Like, I'll get back from the Bahamas, and the next day I'm going to the opening night, or the season opener for Vandy. They play Temple on Thursday, so it's going to be here before we know it. And Cardi, we're getting you involved with all of the football. You're gonna be like the next. You and Davis are gonna be arguing about football stuff. That's gonna be so awesome when you learn enough about football that you can start trolling Davis like he trolls you sometimes in the chat. You basically just kind of form your own opinion and then state it as fact to Davis. That would be amazing.
That's going to happen. I need to figure out who my John Jaso is going to be.
And just keep going to
it's got to be your John Jaso has to be a short wide receiver.
Yep,
Okay.
Small conference, short wide receiver. I'm not a huge college football guy, but the stuff Ben puts out is great. So we'll definitely be able to make some money this year just based on the different materials that we'll be throwing out. Real quick we'll get there down the road too once we actually get to the position. But it looks like a Royals lineup came out, and Christian Colon is batting leadoff today. So wanted to point that out.
He came in pinch hit for the bases were loaded last night. He came in to pinch hit for Aoki. So if you took Aoki, that is like the worst when you have a guy rostered, the bases are loaded, and then you see
that's
on GameCast so and so is
it's bad.
It's
especially when he's a lefty and you don't expect him to get pinch hit for because most relievers are going to be righties. Like that's awful.
Yep, for sure.
And then they walked in the run, so it didn't even really matter.
Aoki could have done that. Come on. But Cologne, it looks like is shortstop eligible, both FanDuel, DraftKings. Much better price on DraftKings for $3,300. He's $3,100 on FanDuel. But we'll get there when we kind of discuss the shortstop position. Other than that, let's go on and just start talking about the horrible pitching options that we have tonight. You wrote the Daily Diamond Pitchers article, so I'll let you get us started.
It was painful writing it. And even what I figured were two of the best options of the day were Hamels and Shark, and they both kind of sucked this morning. So it's not like the night pitchers are any better bets than they were. I think you probably have like 5 guys who are in consideration. You probably have Lynn, Garrett Richards, Cueto. I don't know, maybe Odorizzi, maybe Garrett Cole, maybe Alex Wood. But like, there's just no clear-cut guy. For me, I took all my action on DraftKings tonight, and I might run out 2 different lineups because I'm not sure what I'm going to do. There's just, all these guys have risk.
Yeah, I'm usually a one lineup guy, but I will say tonight would be the night if you're wanting to run multiple lineups to do it, just because every single starting pitcher has, I'd say, more than usual risk tonight. Another guy I'd throw into the conversation would be Tanner O'Rourke for the Nationals, going up against that weak Diamondbacks team that's just been annihilated by injury. So I'd throw him into the mix, but
I love Rourke's stuff, and I'm like waiting for him to break out. Like he's gonna be Garrett Richards next year. I don't think he's there yet. He still hasn't learned how to use his stuff, so he's like an above average pitcher. But I can see him being an option tonight.
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty decent price, 7,700 FanDuel, 87 on DraftKings. You wrote up again today's pitcher, and you put Lynn as your number 1 late slate guy. Let's hear the reasoning.
The reasoning, I guess, is mostly just that I think Lynn is an underrated pitcher in general. I think the Cincinnati lineup is just not intimidating. I mean, it's a little bit more now that like Phillips is back and Frazier is kind of off the DL, but Mesoraco's out of the lineup tonight. The bottom third is just disgusting with Ramon Santiago, Zach Cozart, and the pitcher. He's going to have the platoon against most of the bats, Phillips and Frazier and Ludwig. So I don't know. It's more just like he's the lesser of several evils tonight for me. At least at this point, I could see it shifting as we get some lineups.
Yeah, I can see it.
Dictate.
I can see it. Like you said, the lineup's pretty watered down without Mesoraco in there. Someone pointed out in chat to keep a close eye out on weather. It does look like there's a few games that some kind of have scattered showers, so keep an eye out going into game time. I think Chicago is the other one that has potential weather. It doesn't look too threatening, but it's something you'll certainly want to kind of keep a close eye on.
Yeah, Chicago, the Cubs, Chicago looks the worst, although White Sox a little bit too. Coors a little bit. So yeah, keep an eye on the weather in those games.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I think you'd agree with me here that probably the two most talented pitchers we have going tonight would be Cueto and then Richards, so would be kind of the second guy. Who do you like of those two?
I like Richards more, although again, he's not without risk because he is going into Fenway, where basically you're damned either way in Fenway because you're either getting the platoon advantage as a right-handed pitcher, you're either getting the platoon advantage and then those righties are still hitting towards the monster, so it's almost negating that platoon advantage, or you're losing it to the lefties, and then you don't have the platoon advantage. So it's hard playing a guy in Fenway for that reason because any of the bats could go off. It's not like there's like a couple guys in there that he's going to have the platoon against that are like close to guaranteed outs. There's going to be no one like that. But I think Richards is a talented enough pitcher in general where he may well be the top option. Like I think he might be ahead of Lynn for me at this point.
Yeah, and I think I completely agree there. I think he's obviously got the better of the two matchups as well over Cueto. And I think his price is a little better than Cueto, at least on DraftKings. He's $600 less. He's a whole $2,000 less on FanDuel, so I think there it's not really even a question. I don't think I could blame you going either way. If you wanted to kind of lay chalk at pitcher and go Cueto or Richards, I wouldn't mind if you went either way on DraftKings because they're priced so similarly.
Yeah, and someone just pointed out how bad the bottom of the Red Sox lineup is tonight. I don't think it's as bad as the commenter says it is. Like, there's some decent bats in there, and some guys at least with some power. Like David Ross is batting ninth, but he's not a bad hitter. Like he has some power. He's not bad. Bogarts is pretty good. Betts has plenty of upside, so it's not an awful back of the lineup.
Yeah, and I think if you wanted to go that way, you could probably almost say the bottom of the St. Louis lineup is worse, even though they have the platoon advantage. You're looking at guys like you get the pitcher spot, so there's one spot you get the advantage over, and then you got guys like Krasinski and Descalso down there. So I'd say, the bottom half of the Boston lineup is not great by any means, but there's certainly worse out there. There are two guys. Go ahead.
No, I think the Cincinnati or the St. Louis lineup rather. It scares me a little bit because it is so lefty heavy, and the thing with Cueto is he's up against a lot more talented of a pitcher than Richards is. Like Clay Buchholz is a lot worse than Lynn is. So
I can see that. And then the thing I wanted to mention, and you touched on, I believe, Garrett Cole in your long shot, or no, Pineda, I believe in your long shot section. I don't know if you're going to risk either him or Cole tonight, but I think both of them are intriguing options, at least for GPP. What are your thoughts? And maybe you could reiterate some of what you wrote on Pineda.
Yeah, for GPP, he's very interesting. The big risk there's a couple different risks with him, but the big risk is that he's not going to go deep enough into the game. He threw under 70 pitches his last time. It looked like he was tiring as the game went on. So it's hard to say how much he's going to throw. If he only gets like 75 pitches, he might not even make it 5 innings, which is going to screw you over. And the other thing is that Houston's lineup, while fairly mediocre, is like very boom or bust. Like they have a lot of like guys who can do damage in big bursts. Like they have guys like Carter and Castro and Singleton who can just go yard, and then you have a bunch of runs put up on you. But I'd be on Pineda tonight for the same reason I was on Capuano last night, where even though Capuano gave up, it wound up being 4 runs, but he was looking great through the first 5 innings. He still struck out, I think, 9 batters, so Houston strikes out a lot, so that's going to build some floor into the pitcher.
Yeah.
So, even if he gives up a couple runs, the strikeouts are going to make up for it.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if anyone in chat who's watching has been able to find anything on his pitch count tonight. I'd love to see if anything.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, because I was surprised when I saw it, but the Yankees are actually the heaviest favorite here today in Vegas. They're minus 205 is what I'm seeing right now, which is a pretty heavy favorite, which is surprising to me, like I said. So if we have a pitch count where we feel somewhat comfortable with Pineda getting 5 innings and getting in line for that win, I think he's certainly worth the risk, like we said, as a GPP option, but also potentially we might be getting cash game territory if we can get any sort of firm pitch count. The other thing would be, or the other pitch I would say would be Garrett Cole and PNC. Obviously, look out for weather in that game. It looks like from what I've been able to read up on his rehab starts, he's been right around that 75 pitch limit. So I certainly wouldn't expect him to go any more than 100 pitches, but I think it's probably safe to say he'd be around 85, 90 plus for tonight. And he's actually, I don't look into this at all. I'll just note it for those people that do. But he has had a really good last 2 performances in rehab. I believe potentially it was either 11 or 13 scoreless innings in his last 2 starts in rehab. So for those of you that kind of take note of that sort of thing, that's out there. But I think he's an interesting GPP option, and actually for fun, I wouldn't mind pairing up Pineda and Garrett Cole just for the heck of it to throw it on one team. And it looks like Ryan Hodge is telling us for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Cole is scheduled to go about 90 pitches. What would you do with that information, knowing that we have a guy that's going to pitch 90 pitches?
Wait, say that one more time.
It sounds like Cole's right around or is scheduled to pitch 90.
Okay, yeah. I think that makes him a playable option in GPPs. I think in cash games, he's probably not a guy I'm going to be looking at because he's fairly expensive. He's $9K on DraftKings. He's like 81 on FanDuel. So for that price, I would rather take, Richards or Lynn or, whoever else, Rourke or, Alex Wood even for 73 on DraftKings is really, I think there's better options for a guy who's going to be limited. Yeah,
I can certainly agree with that. I think an important thing you brought up there is just the pricing. Like some of these guys, like Pineda, you can get for cheap on FanDuel. He's $5,400 on FanDuel, so he obviously is a much more intriguing GPP play just because of the price. Whereas Garrett Cole, you're passing on guys like Tanner Roark who are $400 less than him on FanDuel. So I think that's a good point that you brought up there. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to touch on as far as starting pitching goes?
I mean, we've talked about like 10 of them, and I think that's the best we can do because it's really anyone's guess who's going to be the best pitcher tonight.
Yeah, but that points out, I mean, that, like you said, we talked about pretty much as much as we could, and that just shows you how crazy tonight is. I mean, it's going to be it'll be interesting to see how things unfold, that's for sure. I guess we'll go on to hitters then. Catchers. Who do you like?
Stacks first, or you want to do catchers?
Yeah, let's do Stacks first.
Okay.
Outside of Coors, Stacks.
Outside of Coors, I was actually excited when you mentioned that Vegas was so high on the Yankees because I think they're a really underrated stack tonight. They insist on batting Derek Jeter second, but aside from that, they're super left-handed. So I mean, you have Gardner leading off, Ellsbury third, Teixeira fourth. Headley should be ahead of McCann, but he's not. But all those guys, I think, are good plays tonight. It sucks that Jeter throws off the whole balance of it, but Feldman's a bad pitcher. It's a really good park for lefties. They're all going to have the platoon. So I think there's definitely some Yankees you should be trying to fit in tonight.
I agree. I think the other game that I could see you actually taking either side of would be in Chicago at the U.S. Cellular. I could see either a case for either side of that game, whether it be the White Sox or the Orioles. White Sox did get extremely right-handed. It looks like they have the tank, Visaido, and Garcia in there.
They have De Aza batting second. Like, what is that?
And the other team that's doing it to me, too, I mean, at least he has a platoon advantage. And it's not Mike Avila's batting second again, but they put Jose Ramirez batting second as opposed to getting Kitness in a more desirable position.
Ramirez
I don't know.
Ramirez is probably, he might wind up as a DraftKings play. He's super cheap there, like 1.8 or something, right? Batting second against Nolasco.
Is he still that low?
He's got.
Let me see.
Not loading right now.
2,200. Yeah, that's a really solid play. I think they're another stackable team tonight. Him and Zach Walters. Obviously, Ramirez has the better position in the order, but Zach Walters is 2,100 as well. So there you go. If you want to kind of stack around them, I think both are you could kind of have a infield of Ramirez and Walters, and just go ahead and stack away with the big bats.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go on to catchers now that we kind of covered some of the stacks.
Let's do it. I think your top option tonight, as it was last night. Actually, maybe not. Tonight, actually, no. Yeah, tonight it's William Rosario against Duffy at home in Coors. And then I think Sal Perez is going to be your second one. There's a little bit less risk with him tonight than there was last night, because the previous night he'd been pulled from the game and there were some concerns, but I think he's relatively safe now. But I do like Rosario better.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement there. I think cash games, you're with any lineup that you run out there, just run a Coors catcher out there. I think they're that far and away, just easily the top options tonight.
Yeah, I mean you could be contrarian for the sake of it and go like Carlos Santana on DraftKings where he qualifies, or Yasmani Grandal even against Hernandez, but I don't think there's any need to really go away from the Coors guys tonight.
Yeah, I know Ben wrote up Grandal too in today's write-up. The other two that I had written down, McCann batting fifth for the Yankees. We talked about how we like them tonight, projected to put up some runs. So I don't hate that if you're going away from the Coors game, which, again, you shouldn't do, but just in case you're looking for more options. And I think Castro on the other side as well would then be my other potential catching option. But I don't think you want to stray really from that Coors game. So I think we'll move on from catcher. First base is pretty stacked tonight. Who do you like as your top first baseman?
At first base tonight, I think my top guy is Jose Abreu. I mean, obviously, he's like almost always the top first baseman when he's in U.S. Cellular, and he's got the platoon against, an average-ish pitcher tonight. So Abreu's your guy. That doesn't necessarily mean you should be paying up for him. I think there's enough lower-price guys tonight where Abreu's probably not going to be on any of my teams. I think Teixeira is an excellent play, batting cleanup in a Yankees lineup that's projected to score a lot of runs. So Teixeira is probably the guy that's going to wind up in most of my lineups tonight. I think Chris Davis is also very much in play in the cell with the platoon against Noesi. Although they're batting him seventh tonight. He hasn't been good lately, but the matchup is good, so.
Yeah, Teixeira's price on DraftKings is really good too for 3,900.
Yeah, for that price, I think Teixeira is pretty much the guy you want to lock in tonight.
Yeah, if you're looking to punt first baseman on DraftKings, or I guess on FanDuel too, Paul Konerko, batting six. It'd be nice if he got one boost up there. But 2,300 on FanDuel. It looks like he's 2,600 or so on DraftKings. I could see making a play for him. Otherwise, I think a lot of the guys I like, Jose Abreu is obviously has a high price tag, except on FanDuel, his price tag is absolutely ridiculously low, and I think he's a must play there. 3,700 on FanDuel. I didn't even notice that until Ben pointed it out today.
I thought he was cheap last night at 39. If he's coming down again,
he keeps going down. And one thing Ben mentioned is when you're considered in a slump, and that slump is that you're just hitting singles or not hitting extra base hits as opposed to hitting extra base hits, then you know you're a good player. And that's basically what Abreu is. He's been hitting the ball still. He just hasn't been hitting extra base hits. He hit a home run last night, but for 3,700 on FanDuel, I don't think there's absolutely any reason why you go with another first base option.
Yeah, I agree.
Even Country Breakfast, even though that's what Canda's saying in chat.
Country Breakfast?
Billy Butler.
Yeah, that's what I thought. No, I mean, Butler's in play, but I think there are stronger options tonight.
Mm-hmm. In complete agreement there. Dang, Daniel Murphy. I'm sweating an early morning head-to-head on FanDuel, and I'm just like, oh, this is easy. I got it. I just needed to fade, 6 points or so from Daniel Murphy. He's up to 4.75 right now. So we'll see how that one unravels for me. Anyways, the other guy that I had written down, his price is getting, I think, too high where I don't think I'd play him, even though it's a good matchup, would be Adam LaRoche. 4,000 on FanDuel. There's no way I'm playing him above Jose Abreu at that price. And he's 4,800, I believe, on DraftKings. So, again, I don't see playing him there.
Yeah, and especially it's not like Cahill is the way he was earlier in this year. Like, over his past few starts, his control has been a lot better, kind of back to where it was when he was right. So he's not a guy that I'm really looking to pick on anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that, too. And it's just not really a park that you want to take a lot of hitters from either, especially if you're looking for power, which you kind of you are looking for power from LaRoche. And then one last first baseman that I'll mention that I had written down that I do like tonight. Again, he's not a guy that I think I'd take over Abreu in pretty much any circumstance, but Anthony Rizzo has been hitting the ball well. He's 4,000 again on FanDuel and about 4,800 or 4,900 on DraftKings. So he's another expensive option, but again, I'd rank him behind Abreu, but if you're looking to kind of differentiate your squad a little bit, I don't have a problem taking him.
Yeah, I like Steve Pearce on DraftKings. He's 3.5. And even though he doesn't have the platoon, I think the Orioles are going to score a lot of runs anyway. So he's batting second. Noesi's awful. The bullpen is awful. It's a great park. So he's a guy I could get behind as like a cheaper option. Yep,
I like that too. Anything else or anyone else you want to point out at first base, or should we move on?
No, let's move on.
All right, I think let's just go to second base. I know this isn't the order Davis goes in, but anyways, we'll go to second base. Who do you like there?
There's actually a lot of second basemen tonight. I think my top options, though, are going to be both of your Coors guys, Rutledge and Infante, are both hitting at the top of the lineups with the platoon. And then I think a sneakier play is Brian Dozier, who's also hitting at the top of the lineup, and who's up against TJ House, who I kind of like, but who, just based on his arm angle and the pitches that he throws, he struggles a lot against righties. So I think Dozier, with the platoon advantage against a guy who's going to have, big platoon issues, is, really a sneaky good play tonight, especially since he's more talented in general than Rutledge and Infante are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all guys that I like. I think it's kind of an interesting night because I actually think, even though there's a lot of crappy pitchers out there, I think a lot of the positions that you're trying to fill in today, a lot of the best options are actually in Coors. We talked about, the middle infield of Christian Colon, and then you got Rutledge, Infante, and by far and away the best catching options. So it's going to be an interesting night to see how many people try to fade Coors and how that works out for them. It's something I certainly wouldn't recommend. I mean, I understand if you don't like the strategy of it and it kind of, in your mind, lessens the strategy of the night. But, hey, that's where your best options are coming from tonight. and that's kind of, we don't like to give you the obvious plays all the time, but tonight they kind of are obvious, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, some other second base options. I talked about not wanting to really pick on Trevor Cahill. I don't hate Rendon, even though his price is more than what I would like it to be. The other guy, I believe, is second base eligible. He's not, only shortstop eligible on DraftKings. I was going to say, Asdrubal Cabrera is batting second tonight, so he's a potential option. But anyways, the other guy would be Jason Kipnis, batting fifth. Again, we'd like to see him in that 2-hole, but we get Jose Ramirez there instead. But I like Jason Kipnis batting fifth tonight against Ricky Nolasco.
I like Kipnis too.
Other than that, I don't think there's really a whole lot. It looks like Joe Panik's batting fifth against Edwin Jackson. He would be kind of a punt option. I don't think there's any reason to really take him because of the other punt options that are available. But it is notable that he's batting fifth today.
Yeah, I think guys like Rutledge and Infante are cheap enough where you don't need to go super punt.
Exactly.
Tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, moving on. Let's go over to third base.
That shortstop pulled up. Where's the?
I'll do shortstop then. That's fine with me.
Third base is good. Top option tonight, obviously, is going to be Arenado. Mm-hmm. He's batting third. He's got the platoon. Duffy's not that good. The whole chorus thing, all that. So Arenado's your obvious play. If you want someone a little more off the radar, I like Chase Headley a lot. I wish, Derek Jeter just screws everything up, and even McCann shouldn't be hitting ahead of him. But even batting sixth in a lineup that's going to score a lot, there's a good chance he's going to get that extra at bat. They're going to get to him the next time around. So I like Headley a lot tonight.
I like it. The guy I played last night, and I might like him just as much, if not even better, for cheap tonight. Didn't get the full game in. Luis Valbuena's batting fifth.
Knew you were going to say it. I like it.
Against Jake Peavy. He's, I think, second and third base eligible on DraftKings, which is really nice. You can kind of toggle him there. Is he? Because I thought I played him. Nope, second and third. He's just third on FanDuel, obviously. But yeah, he's both on DraftKings, so you can toggle him there for $2,900. He's $2,700 on FanDuel. I think he's a really good option for his price. The other guy that I just passed up, I guess I'll mention the two guys that Ben wrote up today because I can see the argument for both. One would be the other side of that Wrigley game, Pablo Sandoval batting third against Edwin Jackson. Mm-hmm. And then a play I don't like as much. I see the reasoning for it, but batting position gets me off and would be Trevor Plouffe. Batting sixth today against TJ House. What are your thoughts on Plouffe?
Batting sixth isn't great, but like I said, House is going to struggle against righties, so I could see Plouffe. What does he cost? He's
like 26 on FanDuel.
26 on FanDuel, 37 on DraftKings, so he's not bad. I don't know. He's not bad. There's other guys I'm looking at first.
I agree with that.
Play. Yeah.
It's not someone I go to right away.
I think the individual matchup is pretty good for him, but I think just the composition of everything where he's batting in the lineup and what that lineup is expected to do, like pushes him below, some of these other guys for me.
I agree. I'm not going. We'll eventually head on over to shortstop, but I have noticed that we're kind of straying away and completely doing this unintentionally, and I'm guessing it's probably more so due to the other options available and just the pricing of these guys, but we're really straying away from a lot of Angels guys tonight. And I guess that's probably because most of their good plays are in the outfield anyways, and we haven't gotten there yet. Overall, what are your thoughts?
Overall, I just think there's better options, especially normally positions like second base and even third base can be they can be shallow positions, but today I feel like they're very deep and very strong. So when you have mediocre players like Kendrick or Freese or Ibar, they're not gonna come up because they're not as good players in general, and because the matchup isn't elite in the way a lot of these other matchups are.
Yeah.
But in general, I think the Angels profile well tonight. It's just those kinds of guys I'm probably not on.
Yeah, and it's just looking at FanDuel, I can see if you're fitting, the Angels outfield into your lineup, but it's going to be really hard to do on DraftKings. Trout's 5,500 there, Calhoun's 5,000. The guy that you could probably fit in would be Josh Hamilton, but he's kind of a head case at this moment. What would you? I mean, I'm guessing you would take him more as a GPP option than anything, Josh Hamilton, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely more as a GPP. It's hard to trust him in a cash game. He's been so bad. He got time off, to try to clear his head because he's been so bad. So it's just he's a guy that I don't think I could trust in a cash game tonight. Not until he starts to show something again.
I completely agree. But anyways, we'll go back to the scheduled programming, and we'll move on to shortstop. Who's your top shortstop option of the night?
My top shortstop is that a real line? Oh, no, it's not. Okay. It's going to be where he qualifies on DraftKings. It's going to be Dozier, because I love Dozier. I don't know why. I think he's a good player. He's a little more boomer bust than you'd like in a cash game, and especially from a middle infield position where, those are generally going to be safer cash game plays, guys who hit high in the order and hit for average or speed or something like that. But I do think he's a good play overall. I think Rutledge, where he's a shortstop, is a really good play tonight. Billy Hamilton, I think, is always in play. Anytime there's even a mediocre pitcher, he's in play just because there's always the threat of him stealing a base. Ian Desmond and Asdrubal Cabrera, both very much in play against Cahill. Danny Santana batting leadoff against House. Also, I'm very much about picking on House with righties, so I think those are kind of the guys that I'm looking at.
So what's your main reasoning? I'm assuming they're pretty much equal price on DraftKings, and I'm assuming you'd take Dozier over Santana. What's your main reasoning behind that?
I just think he's a better player in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to me, I think what would add to it, and in my kind of how I look at things, is obviously you're going to get more power from Dozier, and the left-handed pitching on the mound is going to limit potential stolen bases from Santana, which is where he drives a lot of value. So I don't think he's a horrible option, but I do think people have to be aware, and I kind of told this to Davis the other day, you have to be aware of rostering Santana at his current price, because he's obviously overperforming. It's just a matter of how much he's overperforming. And that's not something I personally want to bet on.
And then Christian Colon, too, I think we need to talk about. I haven't even had a chance to look at his price tag because that lineup came out while we were on the air.
He was 28 on DraftKings and 31 on FanDuel. 33 on DraftKings.
33 on DraftKings, which isn't as cheap as I was, I guess, hoping. I was hoping he was going to be like a 2.2 guy. So I don't know. He was a high draft pick. I think he was like 4th overall or something. But he never really developed into much. And he kind of profiles more as a utility guy now, a little bit of a stick, kind of can do a little bit of everything, but not really an impact bat. But leading off, against De La Rosa in Coors, he's definitely an option if you want to go a little bit cheaper. I would just prefer it if he was cheaper than he is, so I don't know if I'm going to wind up with him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Rutledge is cheaper than him in both places.
Yeah, Rutledge is cheaper than him, and Fonte is, $300 more, so...
I agree.
Yeah,
I was surprised at his FanDuel price, especially for 3,100. I don't think there's... I mean, I think the play is to roster a shortstop in Coors, but I think it's going to be Rutledge, I think, just because of the pricing. We had the question in chat, rank Mercer, Colon, and Rutledge.
Rutledge first, easily. Jordy Mercer, are we talking about?
Yeah,
We haven't
of
even
course.
we haven't discussed him. Where is he? Oh, he's batting second tonight against Wood, though. It's Rutledge, and then just ignore the other two.
I kind of feel the same way. I responded to chat. I said Rutledge, Cologne, and Mercer.
Yeah, that's probably the way I would go. But it's like Rutledge, like significantly above the other two.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Anyone else that we missed? Obviously, thank you, Kyle, for bringing up Mercer, so we didn't miss him since Davis is absent today. But is there anyone else you want to mention at shortstop?
No, I think we covered him.
All right, moving on to outfield then.
Okay, yeah, outfield. There's tons and tons of options tonight. I think where I'm looking first is probably. It's tough because I'm going to say ignore Trout tonight because he still is not hitting really. And I don't think he's far enough above the rest of the guys where you need to pay for Trout tonight, even though he is, technically one of the top options overall.
And he's completely mispriced on FanDuel at 4,400.
4,400,
as Davis would say.
He's coming down, but yeah, it's hard. I think I'd much rather Nelson Cruz against Hector Noesi batting cleanup in the cell. Adam Jones also great. And then you have your Coors guys, Stubbs and Willingham and Dickerson and whoever else is in play there. All those outfielders are obviously going to be top plays. I think your Yankees outfielders are great plays tonight, Gardner and Ellsbury. Yeah, that's kind of the guys that I'm zeroing in on. Let me see if I can find some cheaper ones, though. What do you got, Dan?
You're naming most of the guys that I like. Another guy that I'll mention that seems to get overlooked quite a bit, and I'm guessing it's just because he's not obviously a power guy, but he does have significant stolen base potential. Denard Span leading off. He's got a decent price tag on FanDuel at 3,100. DraftKings, he's kind of borderline where I would take him at 4,000. But I think he's certainly an option. And again, I think he gets overlooked a lot. You mentioned most of the guys, though. I think Orioles would be where I would go as opposed to going. We had the conversation about the Angels outfield. I think I'm with you in saying that I would rather have guys like Adam Jones and Nelson Cruz for the price tag over Trout and Calhoun.
I would too.
Other than that, I'm trying to look through too, kind of looking at our lineups page and seeing if anyone really jumps out as a really good price play. And I'm not seeing a whole lot as far as the outfield goes. I would have targeted Avisal Garcia if his price was better, but he's 4,900 on DraftKings, so there's no way you're touching him there. 3,300 on FanDuel is even kind of towards the higher end of probably what you would want to pay.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him priced so high when he came off the DL. I was expecting there to be like a couple weeks where he was like a really good play because he was so cheap, but just not the case.
Yeah, I was hoping for the same. But I mean, other than that, there's really not a whole lot of bargain bin guys. I think you're going to fill. And
the thing is too,
positions.
I don't think you need bargain outfielders tonight really because you're probably not going to be spending a whole lot on pitching. And then you're going to be finding bargains, at the middle infield position with guys like Rutledge or Infante or whoever, or Teixeira at first. So I think your top overall outfield options are going to be the guys you're going to be filling in, guys like Cruz and Jones and Ellsbury and Gardner and the Coors guys.
Yeah, someone mentioned Barnes on 2,400. That's obviously a good play for what he's
in there tonight.
Yeah, he's batting 7, so not an ideal spot in the order, but for 2,400 on DraftKings, you can't really ask for much better.
How is McBride?
Oh, go ahead.
How is McBride batting 6th in that lineup? Whatever.
Give me a scouting report. I can't say I know much about Matt McBride.
I don't know much about him either, but he's not a legit prospect as far as I know.
Okay. We got a question.
At least not offensively.
Adam Jones, Nelson Cruz, or Stubbs?
I I think it's Cruz, Jones, and then Stubbs. Although they're all elite options tonight. It's just that Cruz and Jones are much better players overall, and even though they're not in cores, their matchup is still like excellent. So,
yeah, I tend to be favor cores, but I think I actually agree with you with that ranking.
For the price, I mean, Stubbs is probably significantly cheaper than them, isn't he? Let me look.
Not really is the
Actually,
thing.
no,
FanDuel,
not that much. Yeah,
FanDuel, they're pretty much all right in the same range. DraftKings, it looks like
he's
pretty
about
much
like
same.
100 less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We got a couple questions on Puig. Where does he fall into the outfield mix for us?
he falls in just below, I think, the tier that we just kind of mentioned with like Cruz and Jones and the Coors guys and the Yankees guys. I think Puig is like right below them.
Yeah, I will say he's another price tag that's going to be extremely hard to fade on FanDuel. Like Abreu, where Abreu's 3,700, Puig's 3,300 on FanDuel. I think that's going to be extremely hard to fade him there.
Yeah.
He's almost a guaranteed roster spot on FanDuel. DraftKings is a little bit more of a conversation where he's 4,500.
Yeah, the problem with him, I think, is that all these other guys, they're facing bad pitchers with the platoons in awesome parks, and he's facing a bad pitcher with the platoon in a bad park. So that's kind of the differentiator there.
Yep, agree there. We have a question: Gardner or Stubbs?
Stubbs, although they're both really good plays.
Yeah, I'm on the same side there. Anybody else have any questions? Make sure to put them in chat. We'll do our guaranteed dongs here. I'll let you go first if you're ready.
Give me 1 sec.
If not, I can go. I'll take first dibs on guaranteed and under the radar. I'll go with both Chicago White Sox. I'm gonna go with Abreu guarantee, and Avisal Garcia is my under the radar.
Okay, I will go guys from that game too. I'll go Cruz as my obvious, and I'll go Visaido as my under the radar.
I dig it. Regrets?
Also, Scott Van Slyke as an under the radar. Just
everybody's
FYI.
going to be on. Yeah, everyone loves the Van Slyke.
Yeah, you think they're going to be on him tonight though, with so many options?
I know Smiz tweeted about him. Al Smizzle's a guy that.
All right.
I know he tweeted about him. He's a guy. I feel like he's
such a hipster play. Like he's the guy
he's a Davis Maddock automatic plays when he's in the lineup.
Yeah, it's like a guy who like you think is under the radar, but like everyone is like loves him and like thinks that they're like the only one.
It's completely true. We have to add that segment, hipster plays, the hipster play of the day.
Yep. Today it's Van Slyke.
I can agree with that. I haven't seen. I mean, someone mentions, and TJ mentions in chat, and it's a very good point with Van Slyke. You know he's going to get pinch hit for where a lot of these other guys that you're taking for similar prices, are going to get their full allotment of at-bats. He's only 2,400 on FanDuel, so he's obviously going to be a good play there. And let's see, on 2,900 on DraftKings. So, I mean, the price is right, obviously. I haven't seen. Have you seen? I'm trying to look it up now. Where he's been batting when he gets the start.
Sorry, who is this?
Van Slyke, I'm still on. It looks like last time he got the
cleanup tonight.
Oh, is he? There's a lineup.
Oh no, wait. Oh, never mind. He bats cleanup like when he's in the lineup a lot. I don't think we have a real lineup yet though. But that's he bats in the middle when he's in there usually.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. I was thinking, well, they finally got healthy their outfield, but then they lost Hanley, so I guess that changes things again. So yeah, he'll be batting in the middle of the order for sure. So for the price, I think he's obviously a good play. Any other questions in chat? If not, we'll do regrets real quick. What's your regret of the night going to be?
It's going to be whichever pitcher I don't play or whichever pitcher I do play. I mean, it's just that's the kind of night that it is.
I agree. Before I give my regret, I guess we should see if Dave has one or if he's even there. Dave, I should say. Because I have a feeling he's not, and we're just going to have to continue talking. That's why I decided to ask.
No, I'm here.
Do you have a regret for tonight?
Yeah.
What's your regret?
My regret is not researching yet. I'm building cool football tools though. So,
But you just listened to us, so
yeah.
you know who to play.
Right. So basically, my regret is going to be in an hour. I will start entering lineups.
Even though you shouldn't, but you'll do it.
Exactly. That's why I regret it. I already know what I'm going to do because I can't not get any action.
Of course not. My regret is going to be Tanner Rourke, or yeah, it's going to be him. If the weather clears, we'll have to keep a close eye on that. We'll see. And the other thing, we got a question about weather in St. Louis. It looks like it's mainly okay, but that's obviously against something we can't really make a decision on that right now. That's something where you really need to kind of wait until about 15 minutes out to make a decision. I have alternative lineups planned if you think the weather's really an issue. It doesn't look like.
Are there concerns in St. Louis? It doesn't look like a whole lot. At least, what's the?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on the hourly crop up. I know there was stuff throughout the day, but that's obviously, if you think there's reason for concern, just keep an eye and kind of have alternative lineups planned in case something shows up there. I think that should do it, though. It doesn't look like we got any other questions in the chat. Dave, you want anything? You want to plug anything before we go? Soccer Dave?
I'm here. Sorry.
Sure you are. Do you want to plug anything before we go?
Yeah, my wife.
that would make up for your lack of action.
Yes. She just came in here looking nice. Had to get keys for her. Sorry. But no, we have tomorrow another show, and then I will be in Atlantis Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. So we'll probably have to go either with Dan hosting or with Google Hangouts with some chat. So we will see how that goes. But yeah, when we get back next week, we have football starting up. And there's also some preseason games. Preseason week 3 for NFL is like the best. If you're going to do anything as far as daily fantasy goes, preseason week 3 is great because that's when your players, that's when the starters they play at least a half. It's kind of just the common thing to do. So you get like half of a DFS week. So if you want to do that, Fantasy Elite has that slate, and then we'll start basically the college football show, and then the week after that we'll start doing NFL stuff. I mean, you've got Evan Silva, you've got JJ Zachariason, you've got Davis, you've got the top expert according to the Fantasy Accuracy Cup, Mr. Tuttle 05. And you've got the Field of Dreams winner, Soccer Dave. So
the Field of Dreams. The
Field of Dreams winner, Soccer Dave. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, 5 Eastern. And I don't think Nap's going to be there because he's like in Harry Potter World tomorrow. I'm pretty
Maybe we
sure.
can get him to film live from Harry Potter World.
Yeah, I doubt it. So it'll be a spirited show, I'm guessing, between Dan and Dave. Maybe we could get Steve on the show.
I'm seeing Davis type in our in our chat, all caps lock. It has to do with Jordy Mercer, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm telling him how bad of a play Jordy Mercer is tonight.
You should just troll him incessantly because he deserves it for bailing on today's show. But yeah, 5 Eastern tomorrow, fantasyinsiders.com/TV. We'll see you then.
Peace.